Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Smithtown Planning Board is now in session. Would you join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Adam?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We thank you. Please.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. The first item on the agenda, the Planning Department recommends the following items for adjournment, as we have insufficient information to act upon them. Part 1, Item 1, number 2011-01, All Seasons Motor Lodge. Item 2, number 2011-10, Anthony Lettieri. Item 3, number 2009-05, FB4 Realty. Item 4, number 773, Scholar Estates. Item 5, the 280A application of Olivia Estates. Item 6, the letter of interpretation for the Polish National Church. Part 2, Item 7, number 2010-06, KVC Holdings. Item 8, number 1053A Berg Estates. Item 9, number 911A Glen Hill Northern. Mr. Chairman, these are the items the Planning Department recommends for adjournment.
Is there anybody here to be heard on those items to be adjourned? Hearing none, the motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the items read.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Mr. Chairman, we'll now move on to Part 3 of the agenda. Item 10, number 1141, map of Cahill Orchard. The applicant is requesting a 6-month extension of the conditional preliminary approval in order to obtain more time to comply with the requirements of filing for final approval. The map of Cahill Orchard, number 1141, was granted preliminary approval by the Planning Board on September 21st, 2011. The Planning Department has no objection to the request. The Planning Department offers the following resolution for the Board's consideration. Be it resolved that the Planning Board hereby grants a retroactive extension of time to the conditional preliminary approval for the subdivision known as Map of Cahill Orchard, number 1141, to September 21st, 2012.
Thank you. Is there anyone here representing the applicant? Would you come to the microphone and give your name and address, please?
Suzanne Cahill, 30 Meadow Glen Road, Fort Salonga, 11768.
All right. Any questions?
No.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, a motion for the extension of the preliminary map for Cahill Orchard.
Motion to grant a retroactive extension of time to the conditional preliminary approval for the subdivision known as Map of Cahill Orchard, number 1141, to September 21st, 2012.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. We thank you.
Mr. Chairman, we'll now move on to item 11 under Part 3, number 940 Lamonaco Plat. The applicant requests to extend the performance bond for a period of 1 year to end on June 18th, 2012 in order to obtain more time to complete the performance bond release process. The applicant received conditional final approval for this 2-lot subdivision from the Planning Board on February 19th, 1997. A performance bond estimate in the amount of $13,739 was approved by the board and subsequently signed by the chairman. The applicant submitted the bond monies and all related materials to the town, and the town board accepted a performance bond on February 10th, 1998. Planning board approval for this performance bond expired on June 18th, 2011. The applicant submitted a performance bond extension application on April 5th, 2012 to the Planning Department, and the application was distributed to all departments concerned for review. The Engineering, Highway, and Traffic Safety Departments have no objection to the performance bond extension request and have determined that the bond amount is sufficient to cover all remaining improvements. The Planning Department has performed an on-site inspection of the subdivision and has determined that all of the public improvements have been completed. The applicant needs to submit an as-built survey and monument certification letter to the Engineering Department and submit a sidewalk waiver application to the Planning Department for the existing sidewalks on Lawrence Drive. The Planning Department has no objection to the applicant's request for an extension. However, Planning recommends that the performance bond be extended for a total of 18 months to December 18th, 2012, to ensure the applicant has sufficient time to complete the outstanding items. The Planning Department offers the following resolution for the Board's consideration. Be it resolved that the Planning Board hereby approves a retroactive extension of the performance bond for the subdivision known as Lamonaco Plat Number 940 for a period of 18 months to expire on December 18th, 2012.
Thank you. Is there anyone here representing the applicant?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Vincent Tramarco. I represent the applicant. I've heard the recommendation of the planning department and hope that the planning board would follow that recommendation. Thank you.
Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak on this application? Hearing none, a motion for the performance bond extension for Lamonaco Plat.
In the matter of Lamonaco Plat, number 940, I move that we adopt the resolution as read in accordance with the recommendation of the Planning Department.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Mr. Chairman, the next item on the agenda, item 12 under Part 3, the letter of interpretation for Ryan in Fort Salonga. Mr. Chairman, this application was brought before the board at the May 2nd, 2012 Planning Board meeting, at which time the application was adjourned so that the applicant could submit a revised map to the Planning Department. There was a miscommunication in the memorandum that was presented to the board at the last meeting regarding the number of credits that was available on the property. Apparently, there was a sentence that may have suggested that if the map had been revised, that an additional credit could be yielded on the property. That was written in error. The original recommendation for a total of 22 credits on the property is in fact correct. Another one being available should the applicant decide to remove the existing dwelling from the property. I believe that Mr. Breslin is here. He may wish to address the board.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. John Breslin, 44 Elm Street, Huntington, New York. I've been my office has been in communication with the department. It's been explained to me the rationale and what happened. We understand the circumstances, and I would ask the board to approve the resolution granting the 22 credits.
Do you want to read the recommendation now? Well, I just apologize. I should have given him enough time here to read the recommendation.
Before we read that, counsel has asked me a legal question, and if I got this correct, this is under, this says that the applicant is the manager of both corporations, and what the counsel has asked me is that if the, is the...
Is she the managing member of both LLCs?
She is.
Okay.
She has full authority to act on behalf of LLCs,
Correct.
and you can make that representation.
I can.
And amended to read managing member of the LLCs.
Okay.
Both Maymark LLC and Fort Salonga LLC.
Okay. Change it like this. Okay. And I don't think we have to do anything with the resolution. No, just the amendment, just have, we'll correct this memo tomorrow to read
So we're
this.
going to correct, okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be read on. No?
We're correcting, on page 1, we're correcting the property description, the last sentence to read a managing member of both LLCs, instead of is the manager of both corporations. That's in the advice of counsel.
And Mr. Breslin represents that she is in fact the managing member.
In fact, I think I submitted a letter to that effect at the request of the staff.
We'll just have to add in their member.
Managing member.
That's just a memo, though. It's not in a recommendation.
That's correct. We'll correct the memo.
Right,
Right.
okay.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I'll read the resolution.
Her name is Maya, M-A-Y-A, Ryan.
Be it resolved that the Planning Board hereby issues a letter of interpretation that the board has determined the number of density flow rights available to be transferred from the subject parcel, known as Suffolk County Tax Map Numbers 6-1-6 and 7, to be 22, plus an additional right if the existing dwelling is removed.
Acceptable, counsel?
That's correct. That's acceptable to me.
Anybody else in the audience who wishes to speak on this? A motion.
In the matter of LOI-6, Meyer Ryan, motion to issue a letter of interpretation determining that the number of density flow rights available to be transferred from the subject parcel is 22, plus an additional right if the existing dwelling is removed.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. We thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, the next item on the agenda under Part 3, Item 13, number 1092, Winston's Run at Nesconset. The applicant requests to waive the requirement of installing sidewalks within the subdivision known as Winston's Run number 1092. The map of Winston's Run was granted conditional final approval from the Planning Board on May 3, 2006. This application was approved for a 6-lot subdivision fronting on a town road known as Old Nichols Road and a proposed cul-de-sac to be known as Dara Court. At that time, the board approved a performance bond estimate requiring the applicant to install a total of 896 linear feet of sidewalks, 750 feet on Dara Court, and 146 feet on the west side of Old Nichols Road. The applicant is requesting to waive the requirement of installing all 896 feet of sidewalks. The Engineering, Highway, and Traffic Safety Departments have no objection to this request. The Planning Department performed an on-site inspection of the subdivision and determined that there are existing sidewalks sporadically constructed on Old Nichols Road. While sidewalks exist on both sides of Old Nichols Road, north and south of the subdivision site, there are no sidewalks on the west side of the road for approximately 300 feet north and south of the site. Old Nichols Road is a heavily traveled town road that runs from Moriches Road to Town Line Road. Motorists use this road as a direct route to destinations between Lake Grove and Islip. Old Nichols Road runs through a large residentially zoned area of single-family homes zoned R10, 10,000 square feet minimum, and R15, 15,000 square feet minimum. And there is a ball field with playgrounds and a church located near the subdivision site. Due to the high traffic volume from the local residents, motorists traveling to and from their destinations, and commercial vehicles, there is a need for continuous sidewalks in this area to provide safety for pedestrians traveling along Old Nichols Road, in particular, the people using the ball field and playgrounds and people attending church services. The Planning Department does not object to the applicant's request to waive the sidewalks on Dara Court. However, Planning does object to the request to waive the sidewalks on Old Nichols Road because of the need for continuous sidewalks in this area. As an alternative to installing the 146 feet of sidewalks on Old Nichols Road, the board may wish to consider accepting a payment in lieu of construction of $1,423.50, the amount that was originally bonded, to be used for future sidewalk construction in this area by the Highway Department. The Planning Department recommends the board make this application the subject of an on-site inspection.
Anyone here representing the applicant?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm Michael Weinrib. I'm the principal of the owner of the property. So I'm here on my own.
You understand we're going to do an on-site?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anybody else in the audience that wishes to speak on this? A motion for an on-site.
In the matter of Winston's Run at Nesconset, number 1092, motion to adjourn for an on-site inspection.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, the next two items on the agenda under Part 3, items 14 and 15, number 1059 Prestige Estates and number 1000A Soundview Estates, were originally presented to the Planning Board at the November 16, 2011 Planning Board meeting. At that time, both applications were adjourned pending the applicant submitting revisions or drawings to the Planning Department with respect to an alternative installation along the scenic boundary and the Suffolk County parkland boundaries in lieu of doing the 4-foot-high fence. Additionally, the Planning Department had made a request to the Traffic Safety Department to do an on-site study regarding the installation of the required street trees along Landing Avenue on the east side. We did receive comments back from the Traffic Safety Department. Their memorandum is attached to your memo. We do have resolutions for both applications. There are updates to both memos. I will begin with Prestige Estates. The update. The applicant has submitted plans, there's a copy attached to your memorandum, illustrating the installation of poles and signage along the boundaries of the county parkland and easement lines in lieu of the 4-foot fence that was originally conditioned for this subdivision. The Planning Department finds this proposal acceptable and has no objection to waiving the installation of the fence in lieu of installing the poles and signage. The poles and signage will be installed every 50 feet along the parkland boundary and scenic easement. Additionally, as previously noted at the December 7th, 2011 Planning Board meeting, the Planning Department has no objection to the applicant's request to waive the sidewalks within the subdivision. The Planning Department, in a memorandum dated January 13th of this year, copy is attached to your memorandum, requested comments from the Traffic Safety Department regarding the planting of trees on the east side of the Landing Avenue right-of-way with respect to site distance for residents entering and exiting the subdivision. The Traffic Safety Department responded in their memorandum dated April 16th of this year, copy is attached, that they were opposed to any plantings within the right-of-way that would limit site distance to and from the intersection of Nadia Court and Landing Avenue. The Planning Department discussed the traffic safety's findings with the applicant, and both parties agree that no trees will be planted in the right-of-way. The applicant has agreed to make a payment in lieu of the plantings to the Street Tree and Sidewalk Fund in the amount of $1,200, which is 20% of the original performance bond estimate of $6,000 for the street trees, to be used for future plantings in the town. Therefore, the Planning Department does not object to the applicant's request to waive the planting of the street trees. The Planning Department offers the following resolution for the Board's consideration. Be it resolved that the Planning Board hereby approves the request of Frank Caridley, doing business as Universal Development Corp., to waive the requirement for the installation of 1,581 linear feet of sidewalks, the installation of a 4-foot-high fence along the county parkland boundary and scenic easement, and the planting of 45 street trees within the subdivision known as Prestige Estates number 1059, subject to the following conditions. 1, in lieu of installing the 4-foot-high fence along the county parkland boundary and scenic easement, the applicant shall install poles and signage as illustrated in the plans submitted to the Planning Department every 50 feet along the county parkland and scenic easement boundaries. 2, the applicant shall make a payment of $1,200, 20% of the performance bond estimate of $6,000, to the Street Tree and Sidewalk Fund in lieu of planting the 45 trees to be used for future plantings in Smithtown. Mr. Chairman, that is the Planning Department's recommendation, excuse me, for Prestige Estates number 1059.
Is there anyone here representing the applicant?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Vincent Tremarco. I represent the applicant. I've heard the recommendation of the Planning Department, and my client concurs with that recommendation.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on this application? All right, a motion.
Matter of Prestige Estates, number 1059, I move that we adopt the resolution as read in accordance with the recommendation of the Planning Department.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. What's your problem?
With the parties. Vinnie, is the applicant is the corporation? Do you know? Yeah. So essentially, that wording has to be changed, and Caridi is, he's the sole shareholder, is he the officer, director?
I can't hear you, Ron.
What's Caridi's position with the corporation?
He's the president, sole shareholder.
Sole shareholder. So amend the paragraph at the end, it's Caridi as the sole shareholder and president of.
Why don't we just remove his name?
Well, someone has to speak for, then fine, however you want to do it.
Okay, we'll just remove Frank, we're amending the condition, just, it's a Scribner type error. Yeah, or we'll name just the corporation.
But you need someone to represent that statement, so Caridi should be in as the president and sole shareholder of, and then it stands corrected.
we'll correct that and we'll put in parentheses, at the request of the sole shareholder, Frank Corridley,
And President.
and president. No, we believe this is just a Scribner's error with regard to this. Oh, president.
Okay.
All right, the motion has been accepted and passed, right?
Before we do it, let's amend it.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, I'll now do the update for the second application, which is item 15, number 1000A, Soundview Estates. Under update, as previously noted at the December 7th, 2011 Planning Board meeting, the Planning Department has no objection to the applicant's request to waive the sidewalks within the subdivision. The Planning Department, in a memorandum dated January 13th this year, copy attached, requested comments from the Traffic Safety Department regarding the planting of trees on the east side of the Landing Avenue right-of-way with respect to site distance for residents entering and exiting the subdivision. The Traffic Safety Department responded in their memorandum dated April 16th this year, copy attached, that they were opposed to any plantings within the right-of-way that would limit site distance to and from the intersection of Nadia Court and Landing Avenue. The Planning Department discussed the Traffic Safety Department's findings with the applicant, and both parties agree that no trees will be planted in the right-of-way. The applicant has agreed to make a payment in lieu of the plantings to the Street Tree and Sidewalk Fund in the amount of $800, 20% of the performance bond estimate of $4,000 for the street trees, to be used for future plantings in the town. Therefore, the Planning Department does not object to the applicant's request to waive the planting of street trees. The Planning Department offers the following resolution for the Board's consideration. I'll read it as corrected. Be it resolved that the Planning Board hereby approves the request of Frank Corridley, the sole shareholder and president of Universal Development Corp., to waive the requirement of installing 1,112 linear feet of sidewalks and the planting of 35 street trees within the subdivision known as Soundview Estates, number 1000A, subject to the following condition. The applicant shall make a payment of $800, 20% of the performance bond estimate of $4,000, to the Street Tree and Sidewalk Fund in lieu of planting 35 trees to be used for future tree plantings in Smithtown.
Mr. Tramarko?
Vincent Tramarko, 1038 West Jericho Turnpike, Smithtown, New York. My client concurs with the recommendation of the Planning Department.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. Anybody here in the audience that wishes to be heard on this application? A motion, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion in regards to Soundview Estates, number 1000A, that we adopt the resolution as read.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Mr. Chairman, the next item of business under Part 4 is the adoption of minutes for the March 21st, 2012 Planning Board meeting.
Adoption of the minutes for March 21st.
I move that we adopt the minutes of the March 21st, 2012 Planning Board meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. The summer schedule. We've talked among the board, and everybody has felt that to do in July, because of the 4th of July, we'll do the 18th for the meeting in July. And for August, we'll do the 1st of August, which will give everybody some time in August for a vacation. Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
July 18th and August 1st.
Okay?
Mr.
Acceptable to the board?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, there is one last item that we wish to present to the board. Mr. Tramarko will be attending the next Planning Board meeting, which is scheduled for June 5th, I believe. There is going to be 2 applications on that evening. They're both zone change applications, which we anticipate will probably be fairly lengthy in discussions and presentation and probably discussions with residents. Mr. Tremarco has made a request that he has a subdivision application known as Jason Estates to be brought before the board on the same evening. And we're asking the board if you want to schedule that for the same evening, or would you prefer to schedule it to the following meeting after the next meeting in June?
Mr. Chairman, just if I may be heard, that subdivision, for whatever reason, is probably in the making for 9 to 10 years. If the chairman so chooses, you could put that on first. It's going to take about 1.5 minutes, I guess, and then we'll go to the big one. I don't think we'll be holding anybody up, and there certainly will be a big crowd here on the change of zone stuff. So,
Members of the board,
Yeah, that's fine.
okay?
We'll do it, get it done with.
Let's do it and get
If
it
he's
done
ready
with.
to go, why should we put
Yeah.
it?
If it's been
Thank
hanging
you.
around for 9 years, we'll put it on that day, we'll get it done first, and then we'll go to the other ones.
fine, thank you.
You're welcome. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak on anything? No? The young people in the back, are you here observing the board? That's, it's a good civic lesson. Okay. You get the badge for that, right? Okay. All right. Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.